Get rocking. I thought I'm probably has never been as excited to end a week and start a new one. And as you're getting to know me, you'll learn. I love being right where I'm at, right where my feet are, and I try to stay there. So last week was tough to have everybody want to go take a trip back down memory lane, but more than anything, I just love being in the moment, right where we're at, week to week, and staying in it. So definitely glad to get rocking again this week. So it was good to see the style and attitude that we wanted to play get recaptured, and so I was certainly pumped about that, all the way through. But glad it opened up to you guys to get rolling.
How where will you keep the ball that you got last night, and how much, even though you don't look back, how much did it mean to get that ball, and how the players reacted?
You know what? I was totally unprepared for that, and it meant a lot. And I would say, when you get fired mid-year, it's hard, and you're embarrassed, you're pissed, but probably the hardest thing is not being on a team. And so to have maybe that moment come at the end after a game, I definitely wasn't ready for it, but man, what a good feeling to know that there's a whole army of people that got your back, and that's one of the best feelings there is in football, when you're part of a team, knowing that, hey man, like, we got your back and we're here with you and fighting. And so probably the hardest part when you're not coaching is not being on a team. And so for somebody like myself, that I love being part of a team, so when you're not, it definitely gets in the way. So it was a very cool moment, and one that I was taken back by. So I don't think you guys saw what I said after, so I'm pretty sure that's why it was cut pretty quick. So I can't. After, I could definitely share. The clean version. I'm so darn excited. So that was good. So and there's some really tough guys. So that's we'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
But the way your team had your back, you don't have Gregory, and then you have to make some adjustments, and that may have been one of the finest performances you guys have had all season on defense.
And I thought, like where sometimes people may not know who some of the guys are going in, but within our locker room, within our meeting room, not only do we know who they are, we know what to expect, what the standard is, and how it's going to go down. And that's a strong feeling, like knowing that we have real belief and trust in guys to do that job. And I thought one of the players that really jumped out to me, certainly not somebody that's not well known, but was Jordan Lewis. And I thought his intensity, his ability to bring it, he just captured that style. I thought right early from the game, as I went down from halftime, I said, man, Jay Lou is on it. And I just felt his aggressiveness. And so to have him get an interception at the end, I thought that was, but he was the one that set it off to me. And what a good feeling that it's not always one person, to know there can be a number of guys that can set it off.
You've talked about how much length is important to you in your secondary. Why did you want Jordan on the team even without his length, and what does he continue to show?
Well, I think what jumped out to me was his competitiveness. He was so urgent in and out of the breaks. I thought that's really the definition of a slot player, because so many times when you put a wide receiver from outside and you put him inside, there's option routes. So in other words, you have a certain leverage on me. Well, it's going to be hard for me to break outside, so how can I break back inside? You can imagine how difficult that can be to defend. So you have to have excellent quickness and tackling ability, because the nickel almost plays like in some linebacker roles at times. And so those were the attributes that I saw from him to say, man, what a good role he's going to have. But I just felt his intensity, his urgency in the game. And you never know who's going to be the one to kind of set it off. But I thought J.K. had a good hit on a play down in the red zone that, against Gage, that, was a good hit, kind of turned it. But Jordan, I just felt his urgency, intensity all day.
What do you think was the key for you guys to contain Matt Ryan? He's obviously played a lot of good football. That's the lowest passer rating he's ever had in his career. What was the key for you guys to stop him?
You're right, and the guy's a fantastic competitor. I think against any really good passer, you have to somehow disrupt timing. And there's a lot of ways you can do that, or rerouting a receiver, or getting pressure on a quarterback. But that's always the biggest challenge, when you're, facing a team, is how are we going to affect him? Sometimes it can be, hey, we got a really good disguise, and you just make him hold it for a half a count longer, and then some of the timing can get off. So getting the timing and the rhythm off was a big piece of it. But for guys like a Jordan who can, reroute somebody and still get vision on the quarterback, that was a big piece of it. But the guy's a elite competitor, and so we were definitely fortunate for us also to get our hands on a few balls and have some pass breakups. I thought the contested catches were kind of the story within the game, how many pass breakups there were and close defended plays. So when you play a good quarterback, you better be able to guard them close. And that was kind of way back where we said how much we had to change some in the system because there were just too many completions. So I think a day like that showed the contested catches and how important those are.
Dan, when was the last time you had all three of your starting corners get an interception in the same game?
You know what? Somebody asked me that yesterday. I just don't. I don't know that. That's. I think that's pretty rare. You've had games where you had three and stuff, but I don't know if it's been in the corner side of it. So, one thing I can say is how impressed I am about them. Their willingness to work at it, and you see it at practice. You know where they go, but to have just those three, you know, really leading the way on some of the interceptions, I think it's pretty remarkable. And now, how can we add to that with others and forcing fumbles? But that's I can't think of a game offhand that three different players, you know, in the secondary at corner specifically had one.
There's a word that often gets associated with Jordan Lewis, and that's scrappy. Even though he's not the biggest player in defense by any stretch, he's the shortest, and he still has this intensity with the way he kind of carries himself. Do you agree with that? And how does that manifest not just on yesterday during a game, but over the course of a preparation week?
Yeah, I would say he's way past scrappy. You know, and the reason I say that is this guy is a real competitor in terms of every which way you go. You see it on the practice field, in the meeting room of getting ready. He's such an accountable guy too, to say like he's down for any challenge. So I just love how, you know, physical he is, how competitive he is. Like he doesn't know that he's, you know, smaller, shorter in stature. Like he just knows like this is how I play and I go after it. So there's definitely players like that, not only on our team but around the league, that maybe not fit a profile, but you better not overlook a player like that because they know how to play. And I think Jordan's a great example of that. His speed, his quickness, his football smarts, his toughness, all those things kind of, you know, wrap together and say this is the ideal player that you want playing in the slot.
What did you think of Armstrong's game yesterday, and what was he showing you in off-season and training camp before he had the injury?
Yeah, I really thought before he had the injury, I said, man, we are, you know, going to make real strides here. And so when he got set back, he worked extremely hard to get back, and I think it probably took a game or two to trust that, hey, this ankle's strong enough, I can do it, I'm ready to go. And so for him to come back, I think he was ready to take on the challenge. Like, we know how important having Randy here and Law here, so, you know, there's a moment to say, all right, I'm ready to follow me, I'll take the lead on this one and go, and he's certainly capable of doing that. And then to have the play, I thought, on special teams and to be on the side to go for the block, it was just a textbook example of how to block a punt for a young kid who's watching, where you don't want to miss and you rough the punter. So there was no chance he was going to rough it. I thought just a textbook example. But I was pleased with him. He was really active all day, from in the run game and you know, in the pass rush. So that was his best performance of the season for sure.
In a general sense, not so much what happened yesterday, but how do you think your secondary has been playing so far?
Well, I think what we always are trying to do is to say, where are we trying to find the improvement? Where can we find to go to get better? And I think that's one of the things that we saw, to say, all right, how do we, you know, find ways to improve? And I thought where it really showed up in this game was in the contested catches. And I think Joe Witt and Al Harris and these guys have been working extremely hard at it. And so not just at the ball side of things, but the scheme and tweaking to go. And so the more they play together, the better we're going to get. And I think that's a big piece of this thing. They're just now, you know, continue to work and develop and grow. And I'm thinking that's going to continue as we're going. Like, by no means are we as good as we're going to get. And I think the secondary's definite proof of that.
You got Kelvin Joseph some snaps in dime, I think, for the first time this season. I don't know how many players you're up to that you've used on defense, but now with him interested in getting a look there, how did he show for you in that limited time that he was playing?
And he got a few the week prior as well defensively, but to have, you know, some more plays in this one. And sometimes you get on to special teams and you just show you compete, and I think you guys probably saw his speed and felt it, you know, when he was outside on punt and on punt return. And so that kind of carries over. You're in the game, you're fighting and battling, and then we played some man-to-man with him, we played some zone with him. So for him to now gain that experience, that was definitely needed, and he's growing as it is. So it's kind of the same thing. After the injury, it took a while to come back. He worked hard on the rehab process, but now I think you're seeing his full ability and potential and all that things start to come together.
It seemed like much fewer than 14 missed tackles this most recent
Yes. Yeah, that was a big jump. Yeah, 3 times as less on the missed tackles.
So
We're not good with math, so is that like
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, it's 4, 3, 4, 3.5. So, but it was such a big difference. And I think what sometimes can happen, and I think I spoke about this a week ago. There were too many one-man tackles, and I'm not going to say every fit in the run game was just right in this one, but because of the relentless nature of the energy, if I miss on a fit, you're right there to come clean it up. And I think that's, to me, where we're at our best, when we're seeing relentless effort and finishing over the top, and having a lot of players play like we do. It allows you to play in that style. So we do play a lot of players, but I love the relentless nature they're playing with, and we were setting our jaw to recapture our style and attitude that we wanted to play with, and there wasn't going to be much that was going to take us away from that.
The offense you face coming up has been at the top of the league for the last couple of years.
Yep.
I know you haven't dived into them, but just can you talk in general, just the difficulties of facing that offense and what makes them so explosive?
Well, I think two things. One, they've got an excellent scheme and unique ways to feature players and deep routes and screens, and they'll work the whole field horizontally and vertically, so you've got to defend everywhere. And then the second element, against mobile quarterbacks, first play begins, and then okay, I'm going to get outside the pocket, and they're exceptional at throwing the ball down the field on the run. And so I think with this quarterback, wherever he is on the field, he can get it to somebody. And so that kind of strong arm to do that. But we'll have to be exceptional in our, we call it plaster, but when the second play begins, we're going to have to be outstanding at that part. Now, fortunately for us, that we do a lot of that, against our offense with Dak and Kellen and the guys. That's a big piece of it. But you can't ever take that for granted. Those 6 or 8 plays that happen in a game where the quarterback's outside the pocket, maybe start as a quick throw, and then, man, this is going to be a 6 or 7, second play.
When you talk about contesting catches and when defensive back.
You might have to scoot back just a little bit.
Yeah, that sun, sorry,
Yeah.
right in your eyes there. But when you're playing a team like Kansas City, where you've got guys like Kelsey and Tyreek, who are so dynamic after
Yeah.
they make the catch, you can shed tackles and stuff. What's the fine line there for the defensive?
Yeah, well, I think one, when a play happens and you break down, not when a play breaks down, when a quarterback gets outside the pocket, not by design, there's certain routes that come back to the quarterback, and you'd better stay in your coverage. Often you can lose it and start to look back to the quarterback. If you do that, he'll find the open player and rip it. So I think what we would say is eye discipline is super important in this one, to make sure, man, if you're on a cover, you plaster and you guard your guy all the way through the end of the play. If you think the play's over, it's not. Let's make sure that thing, until that play's over, you got him.
General fan might look at this game and say this is going to be high scoring. But as an expert, would you say, no, this has to be a defensive battle for all of us to take care of our business?
I think every week it feels a little different, and the preparation doesn't change, but the matchups do, and who to defend and how to guard. And there's definitely been some games I've had it, through my career that's, okay, this one's going to be close and it's wide open. And so that's kind of the unusual nature of our league. But at the end of it, this is one that you plan on it going down to the end. It's that kind of competition, that kind of game. And so that's, I think, how you have to prepare for this one. And when the moments come in these situations, could be at the, midway part of the fourth quarter. It could be a 2-minute at the end of the half. You better be on point on those situations. I have a sense games like this against two good teams, when they battle, usually comes down to the end. And when you go in thinking that way, you're ready to get it on as long as it takes, 4 quarters, overtime, whatever it takes.
Could we see Michael Moore at the edge this week just because of the importance of getting the pressure on him?
Yeah, there's no question that the pressure, it has to be. And anytime you face a good QB, when you can, you do that. But that'll be something that we'll look at, through the week. We've, obviously playing at linebacker, and he's down some, but we're just getting started, as far as the preparation goes on that part.
You talked about how being in the box allows you to have some of that clarity of thought that you might not have on the sideline. Was there anything you learned yesterday being in the box about closing your chapter in Atlanta that you might not have been able to last?
Wow. Well, that's a good one. I would say, I think I said earlier, coaches, they throw a lot of cliches out about adversity, and I would say most of them are really true, I think. But anyone who goes through adversity, I think you'd also know it stings a lot. And so what I probably realized maybe after the game, all week I just said our team, and I say our team, our defense needed to recapture our style and our identity about how we love to play. But I think probably afterwards, in the locker room, I probably realized how much I needed to be a part of that win too. And so to be a part of it felt good, and to hear Mike do that and the team, have my back, that was a great feeling, and I probably didn't know I needed that, but to be honest with you, I probably did.
When you look at
That's all, guys.
Mike's efficiency as a pass rusher, the rate at which he generates pressure is about as high as you'll find around the league. When you see a guy who's generating that pressure at such a high clip, is it reinforcement that you're using them correctly because you're picking your spots and dialing up in an efficient way, or is it just we need to dial up more because when we're sending him, he's getting there?
What an awesome question. I guess, is that saying I'm doing a good job, or Dan, you are a dumbass? I kind of just go on the feel and what we need to go and how to feature the guys. But at the end of the day, we do try to feature him on the things he does best. And so pass rushing is also blitzing. And so we do, like anybody who's watching, you'll see him, he's going vertical a lot as a linebacker too. So that's why when the question was, asked earlier about defensive end, it's kind of both spots. But at the end of it, we're just trying to find guys that, how do they do their stuff well when they're in their spots to do it, and he can guard guys, and we need him to do that too. So, yeah, I didn't know about the pass rush rate. I guess I kind of used my own rating on that one. All right, you guys good? All right, we'll see you next week. All right, have a good one.